Hi there, thank you for joining me. Today's video is concentrating on black fur in pastel. This is worked on pastel mat paper today. I've already sketched in the initial outline of the panther and have applied an out of focus background. I'll put a pop-up card so that you can view how to do this for yourself. First of all, I'm applying very light layers with panpastel. This is a very soft pastel. It comes supplied in a little round carton. You just apply it either with your finger or with a sponge or with one of these tools. You can buy these tools separately and I'll list them below in the video description. Pastel mat has less texture than the normal velour that you've seen me use in the previous two videos. So when applying base coats to this paper, I didn't want to get too much pastel, else it would have filled the tooth too quickly. Hence I'm using these pastel pans instead. So we're just building up some light coats, and as you can see, I'm not using black. Well, I hope you can see that anyway. I'm using a dark to medium grey and blue. And the reason I'm doing this is if you were to put black on, first of all, the black would look very flat and we don't want that. So we're going to be applying different colours to the undercoat and then the black will sit on top. When you apply black this way, as long as the black layers are quite thin, you'll see the other colours underneath shining through and it gives your subject more form, it gives your subject more shape. If you've put your highlights and shadows on the undercoat to begin with before applying the black coat, then all of that shape will show through. So it's quite tedious to watch this part, but bear with me. So that's a mid grey that's been added and blue. So now I begin to add a rust brown colour. I'm not going to say which colours they are because any colour will do, as long as you're applying a mid to dark grey, a dark blue and this rust tone, you're going to get exactly the same effect as I'm having. So I'm still using the pan pastels at this point. Still want very, very light layers because I don't want to fill the tooth of the paper too quickly. If I was working on velour paper, then I would just be using the same soft pastels as I've used in previous videos, but because the tooth of this Clairefontaine paper is a smaller tooth, there's less tooth there to hold a lot of pastel, so we don't want to go on too heavy too early. Okay, now I've just applied some black there, and as you can see it's blending in really well with the red oxide colour and the dark, mid to dark grey. Add in a little bit more, careful on the edges. If any scatters onto the background, that's fine, I just blow that away. I'm working on my easel, so the board is upright, so any sort of flyaway bits of dust will just drop away instead of settling on the actual painting itself. And I do prefer to work in an upright position. I normally stand at the easel when working, but I've found that during filming my head tends to get in the way of the camera if I work standing up. I keep leaning in forgetting the camera's there, so I'm making myself sit down to do these videos. So that's a task in itself when you're not used to it. Okay, going back on with the black, keep building up the black now, and as you can see that red is still showing through, the red oxide colour. It is more or less a red oxide colour is showing through. And as you can still see the lighter areas as well as the darker tones underneath that first layer of black. Building up some shape around the head. And I keep looking at my reference image. My reference image is on my iPad to the left of where I'm working. And every now and again I do glance over just to make sure I'm getting everything positioned right. The form of the animal needs to be right. The only other way of doing that is to do a more detailed sketch to work on, but I'm quite used to working just off the photograph on the iPad, so that's fine. Going in with some red keeping the colours I'm using consistent throughout the painting, so the head doesn't look separate to the body. So we're using the head. And I want the lighting on this piece to be quite dramatic towards the end, and you'll see that later. So the ear is in shadow, so it's going a little bit darker. And that line running down the cat's head now looks odd, but it'll make sense as the image builds up for you. I hope I've not speeded this up too fast for you. I mean, it's all the same, it's doing the same all over these base coats, just going on with the same colours that I've used on the body. The mid to dark grey, some blue and a red oxide colour. But as I said, any of those can be used if you want to do a black animal, want to create a black animal of your own, that's fine. If you're looking for a warmer coloured picture, then they can go under the base coats with reds, and if you're looking for a cold coloured picture, then you can do all the undercoats with blues and purples, which will make the end result look colder, but I wanted this panther to look quite warm, so hence the red coat underneath. But as I said, never apply black on its own because it will make your painting look very, very flat. This video was actually requested. A gentleman requested that I make one of my next videos all to do with black fur, hence this one. And I've already finished filming the video to follow on from this and concentrating on white fur, and it's a giant panda, so that'll be edited within the next few days. So we're just keeping the form now. I'm putting a little bit of a shadow area on the lower jaw, on the jaw of this cat, just so I don't lose it. There's always a tendency when you're putting base coat layers on like this to lose your guidelines, your sketch lines that you've applied earlier. So if you think you're going to lose any of your sketch lines, just pause and pop those sketch lines back in with a dark pastel pencil if you feel you're going to lose them. You could always put them on afterwards, but it's nice just to keep them visible while you're working. It lessens the amount of work you have to do. Just defining where the nose is, and that's a little makeup sponge that I'm using there. It's a makeup sponge on a stick. I don't know the proper name for those, but I'm just using one of those for the more detailed areas when applying these panpastels. And I must admit, the panpastels are a dream to work with. They really are. This is the first time I've used them, and they went on smoothly, no gritty bits, beautiful. So I'll be getting some more of those in different colours. So just working around the eye and around the edge of the head. Just be careful not to cover up the guidelines, the eyes. There's a tendency you can get carried away and cover up your guidelines, and you definitely don't want to lose the eye position. It's very important that that remains correct. A little bit of shadowing along the top of there. If I wasn't filming, the board would have been turned round, but obviously I can't do that to you. I can't keep turning the board round to make the positioning of my hand easier, because you don't want to see the board keep being spun around. Going a little bit lighter along that edge because I know that's where the light's going to hit, and the cheek on the other side of the cat's face. So I think, yeah, it looks to me like it's coming together now. Some base coats going in for the eyes, and I didn't want to go with the panpastels because there's no real need on this smaller area, so I'm using a Caran dash, olive green colour, and then a lime green, just to get some base coats going in for the eyes. I will create a different video just concentrating on eyes, and we'll take 40 minutes or so and have a look at how I create eyes in pastel. But for now, it's just a couple of base coat colours going in. Whenever you create anything, or whenever I create anything, I always use a minimum of 3 colours. So that's, as you've just seen in the base coats of this cat, I used 3 colours. I used mid grey, dark blue, and a rusty coloured red oxide, and the same for the eyes. The same for the eyes, 3 colours so far. So that's the olive green, a lime green, and now I'm just going round the eyes with a very dark brown. Again, I just don't want to lose where the guidelines are. And now in with a black, shadowing underneath the eyelid. Just to remember that that eyelid would create a shadow. Even if it's not on the photograph, it needs to go in to make the piece look realistic. On with the navy blue now to create the shadow coming down the iris. And it's quite a dark, it's quite a dark navy blue. I'm back in with the black, putting the bottom of the pupil in, and leaving space for the highlight to go on top. Very self-explanatory watching it from this angle, which is good. A bit more black going on to give that shadow a bit more depth. You don't want to do a black line though, it's got to be blended out into the colour that surrounds it on the eye. Just using a blending stick there just to pull the colour down into the eye a little bit more. Working around a bit more shading, pulling the colours together with the blending stick. You can make these blending sticks yourself, just a rolled up piece of paper will do. With a point fashioned with your fingers, that's enough just to do something like this. And don't try sharpening them. If one goes blunt and dirty, just buy a new one, because they don't really sharpen very well. So just tidying up that eye, with a bit of a pale green going on there, with part of the highlight surrounding the eye. But as I said, I'll make a separate video concentrating on eyes, so you can see it close up what I'm actually doing. Moving on. Okay, now we're applying the second base coat to the subject's body, and now we're using a Unison soft pastel, and that's sort of a burgundy colour now, so it's a lot heavier, going on a lot heavier now than the initial panpastel layers. Or should I say layer, because really we only had one complete layer of panpastel. Unison soft pastels and Caran pastel pencils are my 2 favourite pastel makes, and they work wonderfully together as well. And there you go, I'm just blending it all together with a sponge. You can buy these in shops from applying makeup, so you don't have to buy expensive art equipment here. These are just simple triangular shaped makeup sponges that can be used when you're needing to blend pastel together. Back in with a soft tool, applying some shadowing. And really that was just a little bit of black. There's a little bit of black panpastel on that sponge, and we're just blending it into the layers that are already on there. I can't emphasise though the need to keep looking at your reference image just to make sure your shadows and highlights are going in the right areas, and that the strokes that you're creating are going in the right direction depending on the direction of the animal's hair. Just to keep that in mind while doing this. And moving on. Just some of the same, just applying more base coats, going back in with the panpastels. Just noticing as I'm recording this voiceover that the video keeps pausing, so I'm hoping it's going to play back for you okay without any gaps. And it's really more of the same. We're just going to carry on building these layers until we've got our darks dark enough Just concentrating on the darks at the minute. The contrast will come later when we begin to add the highlights with the pastel pencils. And it's the contrast, it's not the colour that's going to make this cat look realistic, it's going to be the contrast. And when creating any animal with black fur, you need contrast to bring the piece alive. Because if you've not got contrast, again, the animal is going to look flat. So contrasting between light and dark is always the way to go, with any painting really, but more so when creating an animal that's black in colour. If this cat was in a green setting, if it was in a jungle setting, then I'd want to mirror some of that green in the highlights of its fur as well, just to blend the two together, to bind the two together into one painting. So when I start the highlights on this cat, some lilac will be used just to pull the cat and the background together. You can't really see the background here very well, but you will do in the finished photograph of the piece at the end. I'm working under a strip light, which is it's a daylight bulb, but it's a strip light, and it's phenomenally good for working under, but it seems terrible for filming under because it seems to wash everything out. The Canon camera recorder can't really pick the colours up that well. Okay, I'm guessing you can tell, oh sorry about my hair flicking into the video, and that was with me sitting down. Imagine what it's like when I'm standing up, just got my head and all my hair in front of the camera, so sorry about that. Yeah, the Canon camera that I'm working with, the camcorder, it's really good at picking up the detail, but washes out because of the lighting, so it's not really the camera, it's just conditions of both of them. I'll try and alter it for the next few videos. As I said, the video to be coming after this one about white fur, that's already completed, that just needs editing now, so you'll be seeing that soon too. Okay, more of the same, lots of light layers now, but we still want that burgundy to show through. The red oxide is still showing through, and believe it or not, the blue that was put on the very first layer is still showing through, and you'll see that on the finished piece. Because I've gone on with the very light layers, even the Unison layer to some extent was quite light. Once I'd blended it out, the colours underneath are still showing through, giving a whole new dimension to the cat. The video's paused here, I don't know why. Oh, here we go. Okay. Adding a little bit of out of focus detail along the back. I just want all the effort to be concentrated on the face really, although the body does make up a large part of this picture. It's the face I want to concentrate on. And the video's paused, but I don't know why. I'll just give it a minute and see if it can sort itself back out again. And here we go. It just shows you we're building up some detail now. So this is the detail that's going to make the difference. Some lilac-y pink to pull the background into the animal itself, into the subject itself. A little bit of grey going on there. Now I think I might change my mind with that one. Okay, I'm on with the pastel pencil. This is a Caran dash. This is a light grey Caran dash. Blending it out a little bit. Don't want it too in your face, especially down on that part of the body, because it's not really that important. We just want to focus, and yeah, we want to focus on the face more. It's alright, the video keeps pausing, so I don't know if it's recording or not. I think it is now, so I'll stop waffling and carry on explaining what I'm doing. Some pink going in. That's a Derwent pastel pencil. I do use a mixture of pastel pencils. That's a Carbothello black pastel pencil. Just making sure we don't lose the depth of the dark area there, the shadowed area. So we're just going and playing with that just to build it back up. And when I'm starting a new piece like this, I always start detailing in an area where if it does go how I really don't want it to go, I can just cover it back over and do it again. Carbothello blue. So this is about bringing the highlights, bringing colour into the highlights that are going to marry quite well with the background. You don't want the background to look like it belongs to a different painting than the subject itself, so the subject's colours do need to mirror the background a little bit, not completely, but a little bit, just so they look like they do actually fit together. And softening that out a little bit with the soft tool. Those soft tools are really good because they've got replaceable sponges on the end, which is brilliant. So when one gets dirty, you just replace it with a clean one. And apparently you can just pop them in the washing machine. So probably lose them, they're so small though, so you have to put them in a little netting bag or something to wash them. But apparently they do wash really well and are reusable, so that's good. I'm all for saving money and saving the environment at the same time, so that's good, less waste. Just applying a little bit of black there, and I am quickly looking back at my reference image there, making sure that that shadow is going in the right place, because even though this is far down in the left hand corner of the painting, I still want it to be anatomically correct. Just making sure we get the shadows in the right area as well as the highlights. And blending part of the highlights out just to soften them back down. We don't want them too stark. When I put my finger on top, I'm not rubbing them away, I'm just softening the look of them. And I think we're going to jump back to a normal screen in a minute. A little bit of dark added there. Some more lilac with the Carbothello pencils. Yeah, as I was saying, I do use all different makes of pastel pencil. Derwent, Carbothello, Caran being my favourite. Fabre Castell, Pit Pastel pencils, that takes some saying. And we're back. Okay, so as you can see, the body now of the panther has got the majority of the highlighting on. The largest highlight next to my hand being where the front of the shoulder blade is. So it's quite a prominent looking highlight there. And we're just putting some extra black into the inner ear. That's a Caran pastel pencil. That's probably my softest pastel pencil in black, which means I can lay down more pigment because it's softer. Hence the black goes really dark. And I'm building up some extra shadow in now. So that line running down the side of the cat's face now is getting more and more prominent, and it does show really well on the end result that that's actually the shadowed area, distinguishes it from the area where the light's actually hitting it, so hence the contrast is heightened in that area. Going on with some grey highlights above his head. What you saw me do down in the left hand corner, I then transfer that method, that technique, to the rest of the cat. So I'm building up through lilacs and greys, some light blue, and you leave your white till last. If you're like me, you know, you can put a bit of white on as a highlight. It looks really good, and the temptation then is just to go everywhere with it, and it looks less good then. So less is more, so keep your white right until the end and only add a little bit when needed, and that will make your picture pop even more. Now my video's paused again, and I don't know if that's affecting this recording, so if it is, I'm sorry about that. Just bear with me, hopefully it'll reset itself and start again. I'll just sit here and twiddle my thumbs and hope it's carrying on recording, although should I be saying that? Okay, we're back again. Yes, it keeps pausing and I don't know why. Okay, more of the same, working around the face area. Putting some shadows on with the soft pastel. It's nice now that I haven't got an ugly painting. You know, all paintings go through that ugly stage, and it's nice just to have the body more or less completed, so I can look and see the contrast, the values, and then represent those in the face with a little bit of added contrast at the end, just to make the picture pop. So we'll carry on working from dark to light. So that's a relatively light grey that I'm using there. It doesn't look it, but when you're working over these soft pastel black areas, that does stand out really well. Very pleased with that. That's a pit pastel pencil. These pit pastel pencils are actually what my dad bought me for my 14th birthday, and I'm now 52. So, well, I'll be 52 in September, so it's not that I've not used them a lot, it's they've just lasted really well. Some of them are really short, but some of them, yeah, are really big still, so which is great. And my dad passed away in 2001, so it's a lovely memory to have of him when I'm using those pastel pencils, so that's cool. Okay, a little bit of detailing going in around the eye now. It's where it starts getting exciting for me because the end is in sight. Shadowing around the face, and I just can't stress the need to keep looking at my reference photo, especially when you get to working around the face. You need to make sure that the hairs are laying in the correct direction. It's too easy to try and simplify matters, and just when you think you're in your comfort zone, you're suddenly thrown out of it when you realise that the hairs on animal faces go in all different directions, not just a couple. So building up the structure, remembering there's a skull underneath all of this, so that's represented in, represented, is that a real word? Represented, yeah, in the coats that are going on now and the layers that are going on now. Keep in mind the muscular structure underneath, the skeletal structure underneath. It's all got to be correct for the animal's face and body to look correct. Not that you've got to study anatomical things, but just be true to reference material if you're unsure. When you're wanting something to look photorealistic, that is the whole idea. You know, you're going to be working from a photo reference. So make the most of it, and what you can't see on your reference photo, if you've not got enough detail on your reference photo, then look for another reference photo where you can marry the two together, taking pose from one maybe and detailing from another. I do that quite often. If I've taken an exceptionally nice photograph in my mind of a pose, I'll use that pose and then I'll use the detail from my other photographs to make up the difference. So I still get the pose I like, but with the detail I like, because sometimes you don't get both on the same image, so that's fine. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please subscribe, because it's so encouraging to see new subscribers pop up. And some of the messages people have been leaving are so lovely. It's so encouraging, really is. I must stop saying the word "so" all the time. And like I said, the video after this one that I've just finished editing now is all about creating white fur in pastel, and it's a giant panda for a subject. And I've just got to edit that now and pop a voiceover on that one. This one's coming to completion now, just to add in a light grey. So we've done with a medium grey, adding the light grey over the top. But where I've put the mid grey, I'm not completely covering that area with light grey, because there wouldn't be any point in putting the mid grey there to begin with. So As you move up from dark to light, each layer you're applying less, so the layers underneath are still visible in certain areas. Moving up, and when I'm putting my fingers over the pastel, I'm not moving the pastel out of the way or blending it in for that matter. I'm just dulling the look of it. It just dulls the surface down so the highlights in the area where I put my fingers on aren't too harsh. This is a light grey. This is a Caran dash light grey, which is a softer pencil than the other light grey, so I'm applying more pigment in those areas. And that's the lilac pink colour. That's a Carbothello pastel pencil. They're the ones I use on my workshops. They're a lovely pencil to use and to teach with. Back on with a trusty Caran dash. Working along the cheekbone area of the panther now. I've just realised we've got quite a way to go yet because the nose hasn't been done yet. So there's me thinking we're getting towards the end of the video and we've not. We'll be working on the nose. But the nose is more of the same. It'll just be worked dark to light, making sure the nostrils are in the right place when we work the nose, and the rest dark to light. And apart from the top of the nose, it generally is in shadow because of where the light source is coming from on the reference image. That's a harder pencil, that one, the Fabre Castell, so you can get the fine detailing in with the harder pastel pencils. That's a Fabre Castell sepia pastel pencil, and that's in a pencil holder because it's only a little stump. There's just a little stump of that pencil left. Sorry about my hair flicking into the image there. I might have to start tying my hair back when I'm videoing. As you can see, it's just a different mix of pastel pencils. One thing I make sure is that they are light fast. I only work with light fast products as far as I can. Just so they've got all the same qualities, so they won't fade, or they won't fade for a long time under direct sunlight. I will be producing prints from this cat, this painting, and hopefully selling the original too. But as I said, if you've enjoyed this video and my other videos, please subscribe. It's wonderful when people do, especially when they do it out of the blue. It's lovely. Okay, some more going on. It's very self-explanatory watching this. When I lay the pastel on its side, it's just so that I'm not applying too much pressure, so I'm not making a line as such. I just want to tint the work that I've already done. So if I'm going on with the sepia pencil, as you've just seen, it's just tinting what I've already put on there, just altering the colours slightly. It's like glazing with paint. My wispy hair in the way again. Sorry. Building up a little bit more detail, and you'll be able to see all of this detail in the finished painting at the end of the video. And I'm guessing in all this video, this painting took about 10 hours to complete, I would have thought. From start to finish, that includes the background. Okay, and I've slowed it down now. The nose is done, so very simple, dark to light for the nose, same colours that we used in the body. And just very slowly now applying the whiskers, keeping my eye on the reference image to make sure the whiskers are coming from the right part of the cheek and are angling in the right direction, and softening some of the whiskers down so the whiskers that go on top will stand out even more. And there you have it. That's about it. Some more whiskers will go on. that you'll see on the finished painting, and there he is. And that's true to colour as well, that's true to life. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please subscribe. See you next time. Take care. Thank you. Bye.